Hello, welcome. Today's stack of books are going to be all about creativity and making your creative life sustainable while also easier and a lot more fun. So let's dive in. It's quite a colorful stack of books, as you will see. And so let's just get started. The first book that I would recommend, I've recommended this before, but I have to put this here. It is In Defense of Dabbling by Karen Wallenrod. And it is just a fantastic way to approach trying new things and not being an expert on anything, but just approaching things with a mindset of trying new things and having fun with them. So highly recommend. It's a short, easy read, but packed with really powerful ideas and stuff that you can try right away. The next one is To Find Your Unicorn Space by Eve Rodsky. I read this at a time when a couple of years ago when my creative life was slumping quite a bit and really needed that extra boost. And it was just what I needed. I really enjoyed her perspective of how she approached creative work. And it could be used for any kind of creative work that you have. I think her specific creative work is writing, but it really made an impact in my life. It's a little bit of a thicker read, but just packed with great ideas and ways to move forward. Next is Your Blue Flame, Drop the Guilt and Do What Makes You Come Alive by Jennifer Fulwiler. She is a comedian and she's hilarious. The whole time I was reading this book, I was laughing, but also really impressed with how she approached the creative life. And stand-up comedy is kind of an interesting creative type of work. And so it was really fun to hear from her perspective how she makes space for that. And her creative process is very different than what I experience in writing. And so it was fun to read her perspective and just really enjoyed it. It was a very fun read. The one that everyone recommends that's been around for forever is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this is a book that I return to probably every few years, sometimes once a year. I have the audiobook on Audible that I have paid for and I keep in my library. And then I have this on my shelf. And depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I pick up one of them and maybe take it with me on a walk and listen or just read at the park or something, because I find the concepts in here on creativity, I have to come back to them and remind myself that that the creative life is just full of strange obstacles and things that you have to kind of conquer, and it kind of loops back around on itself. And so I just love this. I love the description that she gives for the way that ideas come to people. Fascinating. So fascinating. Loved it. It's made a huge impact on my life. This next one is She Builds by Jada Selner. And Jada or Jada? Not sure about how to say her name, but it's an amazing book. I actually got to be on a Zoom call for her book launch. She was on a Zoom call for an author that I follow and participate with, and she did a presentation about her book and then about like the ideas behind her book. Immediately ordered it, read it, loved it. This book is really great if you're trying to grow a business. She's got a lot of information about detailed about how to make your creative life work from a business way. And she's got a lot of experience in different businesses. And I love the way that she approaches balance in this book. So it was very good. Super helpful. The next book, shameless plug, is my book, Subtle Resistance by April Edwards. I talk a lot about making space for a creative life. I in the early chapters, I go through different parts of life and how to structure your life in a way that you can create enjoyment and fulfillment. And then I get at the end of the book, I get to chapter 9, which is all about personal growth and how to make space for that and ways to start incorporating personal growth. And of course, I have lots of posts on my Substack about personal curriculum and taking that steps further. So if you're struggling with the beginning pieces of building a creative life, I recommend my book. And once you start reading it, you will see why, because basically any of the areas that you could be struggling with, routines or homemaking or whatever, I have organization, I have approaches that you can take, places where you can start. So, and it's full of compassion and understanding, which I try to do with all my writing, sometimes more than others. The next one is The Plan by Kendra Adachi. And this is all about how to manage your time. She has a whole thing online called The Lazy Genius. She has a podcast, lots of amazing resources. But this is her time management book that came out recently. I guess last year, but super helpful, super practical, really gentle for people who are struggling without, she doesn't like talk down to you, but she gives you simple ways to approach change that feels doable. So Kendra Adachi, The Plan. Love that one. The next one is Finish by Jon Acuff. And this book, I actually listened to the audiobook and then I found this in the used bookstore and grabbed it and spent some time writing notes in it as well. I had no idea that what I was struggling with in my creative life was perfectionism. And that was what was stopping me from getting things done. And when I started reading this book, I was so surprised that that was the solution and that it really wasn't as complicated as I had made it. And he just approaches it with so much humor, and his audiobooks are hilarious because he narrates them, and they're great. And it's a nice quick read. He just approaches things with just a great attitude, and it makes me kind of want to jump in and do something about it. So that's the next one. 2 more to go. Create Anyway by Ashley Gadd. I absolutely love this book. I highly recommend this book to any moms that I know, specifically to any women in my life that have young kids or just have kids in general, and they're just struggling to find space for themselves. This book is just a compassionate way to approach creativity and motherhood, and in a way that honors both of them. And it's full of beautiful photography that Ashley has done herself. And this book is a favorite. When I am feeling frazzled at the edges, or I'm feeling afraid, or I'm feeling torn between motherhood and creativity, I get this back out and it recenters me and helps me keep going. So a lot of times I can find this book on discount, which I have no idea why. It should be full price, but absolutely love it. And it should be, it's a really good one for you to grab. Okay. This last one is kind of cheating because it's not a published book. But I recommend getting a notebook. So this is my idea notebook. I found this, I don't know, I'm always collecting notebooks at stores. Anytime I go to a store that's got a notebook section, I am there. I am browsing through it, even though I don't need one. So I have had this in my drawer of notebooks. Do you have one of those? I have a drawer of notebooks. And when I was starting work on my first book, I found that I had a bunch of ideas coming to me, and they were kind of hitting me at these weird times. And then I was like collecting pieces on my phone, or I was making sticky notes, or I was writing on pieces of paper that were next to my bed. And And then I was like trying to gather all of these. And so I stopped doing that. I just picked up one notebook and I just kept all my ideas in one place. And then I started doing that for my second book, because my second book started coming to me while I was working on the edits for my first book. So it's really helpful when you're working on some kind of a project to have one location where the ideas can land, and then you can take them to the laptop or the computer or the document or whatever and start working with them and start doing something with them. But this is like, so one of the producers and writers from The Office, the TV show The Office, called it the blue sky period. So this is what I call my blue sky period. Everything is acceptable. Every idea that pops into my head is allowed to be there. It's allowed to take up space. I write it out because why not? Who cares if I use up an extra page and I don't use that information, right? And so I always allow creative ideas to come in, but then I kind of let them sit for a bit, or I let them lead me from there. So when I started gathering ideas for my first book, Subtle Resistance, I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of perfectionism. I had a lot of frustration with the whole publishing process and how I was going to move forward. And I decided I was just going to collect. And then once I collected enough, then the love of what I was working on pushed me forward into the hard things, the hard steps, the next phase that I needed to move through in my creative work. And so start collecting ideas in a single place. Maybe it's a single app on your phone, or it's a single document on your computer, or it's a notebook like this one. Points if it's extra fancy. But let the ideas collect in one place, and then let the passion of that project and the love of what you're working on drive you forward. Because if you start trying to push yourself forward before that love and that excitement for the project has hit, then you're just going to feel like you're dragging yourself. And when it gets hard, and when there's new skills that you have to learn, or when there's new things that you have to push through, it can be like moving through mud instead of walking downhill. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of cheating because it's not really a book, like a published book, but it's my idea notebook, and I highly recommend an idea notebook. And that is all of the creative books that I recommend. There are more. I have more. These are just my top 10 favorites. And I will put some more information in the Substack post below. And I hope that this helps you in your creative journey.